Hallo.
Hallo, guten Abend, Mr. Ted Newsom.
Oh, nee. Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen, genau. Bei uns ist
Nein,
Abend, bei uns ist Abend.
morgen hier. Ja, so, was gibt's denn?
Waren Sie auch shoppen?
uh, well, moment.
Ja.
Here we are. All right. Oh, now I'm plugged in. Now I speak English. There we go.
Okay, you were shopping
Look at my
too?
phone. Now say again?
You were shopping too?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, for a ham and egg sandwich and a cup of coffee.
Okay, that sounds very good. I want
Oh God, yes.
uh,
And hmm?
I want to do introduction from you, from the infos I got from Wikipedia, and I want
Yes.
to translate this little interview into German and bring it to your German fans. Is it okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
If I have any, yes.
Okay. Yes, you have, sir. You can assure.
If I have any when we're done with this. All right, proceed.
Okay. Let's talk about the very first movie you saw in the movie theater when you were a kid. Can you remember?
Oh, yes, I can. In a theater, in a hardtop theater. The very first one was Jungle Cat, a Walt Disney documentary. I'd been to the drive-in theater, which we don't have anymore. More's the pity. And I remember seeing all sorts of things. A Tarzan movie where Tarzan got stuck in quicksand in color. I don't remember. Maybe Tarzan the Magnificent, something like that. North by Northwest. Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, The Lost World. But Jungle Cat was the first one where it was a real theater.
Okay. Can you remember what did you feel? Was it magic for you?
It was wonderful. It was better than a drive-in because you weren't in your car with your mother and father.
Yeah.
It was a dark place with everybody watching the same thing, and that's a wonderful experience.
Okay.
It isn't, Jungle Cat isn't a scary film unless you think, cougars are scary, but there was an exit on each side of the screen in this little theater, and there was a heating grate in the exit. It was a thing in the wall covered by a metal grate, and me and my friends were certain that there was one of those jungle cats back there waiting for us, that it was a cage. And I still like going through the front of the theater instead of the back.
Yeah. Okay. In the 70s, you were in the U.S. Army, and you were a few days here in Germany, in Heidelberg.
Yes, 3 years.
What do you remember Germany? Are there any special moments for you?
Oh, many. I was stationed at the hospital in Heidelberg.
Yeah.
And Heidelberg is such a beautiful city. We'd hang out at the castle, walk down the Hauptstrasse, score drugs by the Heilige Geisterkirche. Oh, there's a lot of drugs down there. and get high up in the mountains. It was get drunk a lot. It was great fun.
Okay.
I also had to do certain duties, but I'm looking at the good times.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
We got to go skiing in Garmisch.
Yeah.
I mean, how many Americans are in Europe and get to ski in the German Alps? Oh boy.
Not many, but I know some people who were really been in Heidelberg. Such like what was the name? I don't remember his name. Patrick Kilpatrick was there also. The actor and some guys, but I can't remember the names. But they were all in Heidelberg. Okay.
I'll be darned. I wish I would have known more about Heidelberg then than I would now, because I would have looked around. I know that when I was there in 1972 to 75, it was full of Nazis.
Yeah.
And I'm not being funny. It was. It was hidden under the surface, but of a certain age, and sons and daughters of people who were a certain age, it was still there. It turned out I was living off base in a small basement apartment, in a nice little home, a few blocks from where I worked, with a girl who I loved dearly. It was a Jewish girl, born in Israel, but grew up in New York, and I was in the Army, both of us.
Yeah.
And we didn't interact with the people that owned the house a lot. We paid them rent every month and said hello, but that was about it.
Yeah.
One day, the father came down, or the mother came down. I was alone at the time, and they said, "Do you want to come up? We were having a little family party." And I said, "Sure." And I walked upstairs with them, and there was the grandfather and the grandkids, and Uncle Horst, and and everything else. And they had some beers and a guitar, and they were singing songs. My German is not terrific, but I can kind of, sort of follow things, and I speak German faster than I think it. So people assume that I actually know what they're saying. I don't, but I go, yeah, stimmt. They have no idea. But after about a half an hour of smiles and laughs, Uncle Horst nodded to Erich, who went to the windows and closed the blinds. And Uncle Horst nodded, and Anna Maria smiled and picked up his guitar again and started singing a song, and everybody joined in. And afterward, Cousin Rudolph said, "They don't like us to sing these songs anymore."
Okay.
And I nodded. I said, "Yeah, stimmt, yeah." And I thought, fuck me. I'm living with a Jewish girl in your basement. You're a bunch of fucking Nazis.
Oh God.
It was a little discomforting.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of that. That Heidelberg was sort of the stopping off place for Nazis who were picked up by the U.S. Army and then sent to America. There's a thing called Operation Paperclip, and it wasn't just people like von Braun and things like that. But it was, spies and government officials and all that kind of stuff, because we needed them. So, they shipped them over here, established them, and, they were all smiles. Yeah, I love my freedom. So I wish I would have known that then, because that would have been interesting to see what was what. There was I'm boring you, but I'm going to. There was an amphitheater across the Neckar River, which nobody talked about. It wasn't as big as, let's say, Nuremberg, but it was a big thing, obviously done in the mid-30s, with, stone eagles and all of that stuff, kind of like an old Greek amphitheater, but big. It probably held 3,000 or 4,000 people if they were there. And that was impressive. One never knows what was going on there, and we didn't bomb it. They just moved the headquarters for the U.S. Army, the 7th Army, into the headquarters of whatever it was back in the 40s. So anyway, that's a long time ago, and that didn't harm the fun that we had there.
Okay.
And I got laid a lot, which is really nice.
Okay. You directed and produced many documentaries. For example, a documentary called Flesh and Blood, and you worked with Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee in these days.
Yes.
What comes into your mind first when you think about these two gentlemen?
Well, I think of that day. The show had been a long time mourning. And when I started, I only intended to it being maybe an hour long with some trailers and maybe a couple of easy interviews of people who lived in the Los Angeles area. And it grew and grew and grew and grew. And then it came to a point where I felt I had to replace my narration with somebody else. And I went through the list of who I probably could get. Maybe Vincent Price or Barbara Steele or, somebody like that. Or maybe somebody local who had done a Hammer film at some time. And ultimately I came back, and I didn't think of using Christopher Lee or Peter Cushing because I used them on screen in clips that I bought of either of them being interviewed.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that wouldn't work because you couldn't have the old pictures of the narrator who's on introducing it themselves. That just wouldn't be right. And I discussed this with Roy Skeggs, who was head of Hammer when he was in town, and he suggested Oliver Reed and a couple others. Oliver Reed had done narration for a series called The World of Hammer back in the 80s, I suppose, and I thought his narration was pretty dull. But yeah, I suppose I could go risk him getting drunk and cutting my throat for the purpose of narration. And a friend of mine, Bill Kelly, who knew Christopher Lee rather well, he said, "What are you, fucking nuts? Yeah, of course you get Cushing and Lee. Jesus Christ. That's Laurel and Hardy. That's Abbott and Costello, Dick and Doof. What are you, fucking crazy?" And I went, okay, you're right. So I got over my hesitation of using them and set that in motion. It took a couple of months to set it up. But we arranged it, and that day was magical for a lot of reasons. Everybody who was there at the studio in Canterbury being very close to Whitstable, where Cushing lived, because he just really wasn't able to go all the way up to London. Everybody who was there just shared the joy these two guys had. They hadn't seen each other in years, and they did nothing but laugh and joke for about 3 hours before we recorded. And it was wonderful. They would Lee took the lead. He talked more, and Cushing laughed more. But we all knew that this was going to be the last time they ever saw each other, and it was extremely touching. It just killed you. When we entered, I drove up from, or was driven up from London with James Bernard, the composer, and my friend Matt Harrison, who came over with me, who I went to school with. We met over Hammer Films, and Christopher Lee. And when we got there, when we, and that is Christopher Lee, saw Peter Cushing as he was, I could tell that Christopher Lee was shocked, because this man who, in his prime stood a full 6 feet tall and strode rather than walked and was precise in everything, was now a hunched over, really sickly and thin, painfully thin old man. He cackled and smiled, but he was clearly very ill. And he just broke into a broad grin and a laugh when he saw Christopher Lee and so on. They clearly enjoyed themselves. But that first moment when Lee saw him, I just felt him stiffen, because he knew this was the end.
Okay.
And that was, it was marvelous to share that, because they got over that pretty quickly. they, as I say, they joked and laughed. We did the thing, and afterward there were a lot of smiles and jokes. And just before, just before Cushing left, Lee had brought a videotape of Warner Brothers cartoons, Looney Tunes, the Yosemite Sam and Daffy Duck and Sylvester the Cat and so on. Well, they both loved these things. Lee would do impressions of the characters on the phone when they talked, and Cushing would respond with an impression of Jimmy Durante and so on. This is after we were done, and so sitting in the studio in the back where it was dark, where it was just the two of them, were these two old guys. We were in the booth and we could see it, but we really couldn't hear it. And they were just laughing and slapping their backs and rolling around and so on. And a friend of mine who was there in the booth with me turned to me and said, "It's magic." And I said, "Yeah." So I was able to give them that. I was able to give them time together, going out with a project that they're doing side by side for Hammer and ultimately the BBC. So I pretty much summed up Cushing's career there, and it was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, just a second. I think my daughter wants to come, and she doesn't have a key. Just a second, please.
Uh-huh. Where'd that coffee cup go? Oh, there we are.
I'm sorry, I'm back again.
It is nothing.
Okay. That was a touching story. Thank you for that.
You're quite welcome. It was one of the most magical moments I've ever had, most wonderful days I ever had.
Yeah. You served also as an associate producer for several soundtracks. What is the secret of a good soundtrack that touches your heart?
Good question. I don't know. If I knew, I would have become a composer. Anything with strings or horns, maybe drums. No, woodwinds. Well, maybe voices. Yeah, if you use one of those things, it's a success.
Okay.
I don't know, but regarding music and movies, television shows, and the theater, I've always thought that much of the enjoyment of it after the fact is because of where you were in your life and the memories associated with it. For example, if you go to the theater a lot, you can probably remember the first time you saw Hamlet, or the first time you saw, let's say, Gert Frobe in a movie, or you're fascinated by Dale Robertson in a Western that you remember, well, whatever it is. And we associate very often, at least here, and I expect it's probably true in Germany, everywhere, we can often tell you what we were doing when we saw it, before and after, where we were in a living room, or we were in a grand theater downtown, or I was over at a friend's house watching a video. How old you were, how you were getting along with your parents and your brothers and sisters at the time, what grade in school you were, what the day was like. So it's not just the experience, the the goodness or badness of a given work of art, whether it's a music score or a symphony, a song, or movie or television show or a play. It's the gestalt of the experience. So I suppose the key to having a great, memorable music score is to make sure that whoever's listening to it is about 9 years old, because they'll love it the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Okay.
I now, personally, being as old as I am, 60-ish, I like symphonic scores, but also rock scores. But I like an obvious beginning, middle, and an end, something that kind of obeys the rules of harmonics. I don't like Philip Glass, for example.
Yeah.
A brilliant composer for certain things, like Kawana Squatchy, and that works beautifully there. But try listening to his score for the 1931 Dracula. Like, holy Jesus, what is he doing? It's just wrong. I don't like atonal stuff where I feel it should not be. It is fine where it ought to be. It might be great in an Andy Warhol film, but not in something with a beginning, middle, and an end, and an antagonist, a protagonist, and so on and so forth. So that's what I prefer. That's one of the reasons I love the music of Ronald Stein, because he's very old-fashioned. I mean, he creates a theme or themes and interweaves them like Wagner. And I like that. I like music with a beginning, middle, and an end, and movies with a beginning, middle, and an end. I'm very old-fashioned that way.
Yeah. You're obviously a very big horror fan like me. Which movies gave you the creeps?
Well, there have been a number over the years in various areas. I remember the first time I saw a Hammer film. It was on a quadruple bill at a local neighborhood theater. In fact, the same theater where I first saw The Jungle Cat. Curse of Frankenstein, Horror of Dracula, Curse of the Undead, and Head of a Tyrant, which is an Italian muscle man picture. And I just went, wow. Before that, I had seen things on television, Frankenstein, Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein, but this was really overwhelming. Dracula, particularly, but there's moments in Curse of Frankenstein. But after that, I sought it out because it was a great visceral experience. I mean, it got you in the guts, and certainly in the spine and head, but in the guts. So later on, you become immune to the same thing. But then when somebody offers something new, you go, ooh. And one of those ooh moments was seeing Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
It's not particularly graphic, really. It's just incredibly. It never lets up.
Yeah.
You want a break. Let me catch my breath, and it doesn't let you.
Yeah.
It's just, oh no, not that. Oh, okay, what else can happen? More? Oh, please leave me alone. That's wonderful. That's a wonderful change. Phantasm did that to me, which I found surprising. It's a cheap little thing, but there were so many nasty and odd things happening, unexplained, which is, I think, one of the best examples of how to scare people. Don't explain the hell out of it. Yeah. I don't know what that fucking ball with the knives on it is, but I don't like it. Keep it away from me. Yeah. What does he want with these people? What is he doing? Taking him to another dimension? And then to me, the sequels explained way too much. Yeah. I loved Halloween. I mean, I was riveted by that in a way that no other slasher film ever affected me. But I was less impressed with Halloween 2. 3 was interesting, but not like that. And then as the thing progressed, I just said, oh, more of this, huh?
Mm.
But the first one, that was marvelous. The first Night of the Living Dead, like Texas Chainsaw, doesn't let up, and that's certainly a way to scare people. But then when I finally saw Psycho, I was probably 15 or 16. I went, holy shit!
Yeah.
And there isn't that much graphic horror in it. It's nearly 2 hours long, and there are only two places, well, maybe three, where it's really visceral. But that's enough to carry you through 2 hours of movies.
Yeah.
So there are so many. There are so many. The Thing from Another World.
Yeah.
Fun, enjoyable. Oh, everybody's having such a good time here. Oh, isn't that? You know.
Yeah.
There's so many ways to scare the shit out of people.
Yeah, but I agree with you. George Romero never explained why the dead walk, and that gave me the creeps. That was fantastic, I think. And he never called them he never called them zombies until I think the last movie he did.
Yeah. Well, I think they should have retired zombies after Night of the Living Dead. That's enough.
Yeah.
Because they've topped that in graphics. Okay, fine. Now we can see guts and blood and everything in color. Yeah. But who cares? That really summed that end up. Where everything after that, everything, Italian or German or English, it's really just the same in a different place.
Yeah, I got this feeling with this possession movies. I think The Exorcist is the one and only possession movie, and everything comes after it. It doesn't make any sense to me because the story is told. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And really, I think something like that, where it's supposed to scare you. It's the element of the unknown, the question, why? Why is this happening? And if that's not explained, you reach a point where you don't care why. I just want to get out of here.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Just leaving it behind. Go away. I never want to go back there again. And that's creepy.
Okay.
Because it'll stay with you when you walk home. And I remember doing this any number of times as a kid, walking back from the theater at night. Oh, what is hiding in that bush? What was that sound? And in retrospect, in nostalgia, that's a wonderful feeling to me, anyway.
Yeah.
I bet to you.
Let's come to the last question. If you got the, if you had the, if you could direct a horror movie with the monster you like most, which monster would you pick?
Monster I like most. Oh, lordy. Monster I like most. What I'd love to do, which is impossible now, is do a sequel to the 1951 Thing. I started writing that ages ago when Kenneth Tobey was still alive, and I thought, well, the way to go here is to put it somewhere else, in the Caribbean, on an island, for example. And there's a bunch of people who fly there, and Kenneth Tobey is the pilot. He's old, crusty, and 60 years old, but he had gone through that, and pick it up there where he knows what's going on. And it's an invasion not only of a thing, it's things.
Yeah.
Essentially do a zombie film where those guys are smart and nasty and fast.
Yeah.
And they're not there just to wander around. They're there to conquer the earth.
Yeah.
If you could capture 10% of the scariness in the first one, I think you would have had a hell of a film. However, it didn't happen, and there we are.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, well, it's a hypothetical film. I don't know what I'd do now. A sequel to Friday the 13th. Ooh, that's scary. Look, it's a big guy with a mask. I don't know. I think vampires and zombies should be retired and forbidden for 20 years. Just get rid of them. That nobody should remake Frankenstein until hell freezes over. We've seen enough of the fucking guy, and that's all. Unless we can get Peter Cushing, in which case let's do 3 or 4 of them. And the Wolfman, I don't know. Somebody'd have to do a CGI of it, and then I'd hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the classic monsters need to be constantly revived. Come up with something new. Jesus, the character in Halloween, for example, was new at the time. Now it's overdone, mass killer, and that's ripped off from the Giallo films. But we had never seen it. Everybody else other than those in Italy, I guess. And the Creature from the Black Lagoon was new and original in 1953 or 4.
Yeah.
But these fucking sequels. Come on. Come up. Is it that hard? Pumpkinhead, a friend of mine, Mark Carducci, co-wrote that. That I admired. I didn't like it particularly, but I admired that because it was something new. Even the Phantasm, the Tall Man, something new. I mean, this guy is creepy and unexplained, which is, as you pointed out, that's one of the best things about it.
I like the stuff.
Childhood was. Who cares? He's evil.
Yeah, I like the stuff of James Wan. I think I shit in my pants when I saw Insidious or The Conjuring 2. That was very, very frightening for me. There were very cool monster characters over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's always been thus, I think, that someone or a company, a director or whatever, wants to recapture whatever magic there was in the original of whatever they're doing, whether it's Frankenstein or Dracula or Romero's Zombies or whatever. Let's do another one because the first one was so good and it made so much money. I understand that. But what made the thing good? Well, it was probably the originality of it.
Yeah.
The combination of old stuff and something unexpected, something unexplained.
Yeah.
So do one of those and you'll make a lot of money.
Yeah. Yes. This is, we're coming to the end of the interview now. It was an honor talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Das ist sehr schade.
I got to pick up my little daughter. She's in the Kinderdisco. Ja, zwei Töchter.
Schön.
Die große ist gerade gekommen, die kleine ist in der Kinderdisco. Da muss ich sie abholen. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the interview I did with Mr. Douglas McCone, who directed The Deadly Spawn. This is a very, very interesting interview, and he's a real horror freak, and I think you like that interview. I still got it in English, and I sent you over this to you, so you can read this too.
Wait, the Deadly Spawn?
Yeah, The Deadly Spawn he directed was the only movie he directed, and the story behind that movie, it's a B horror movie, but I like it so much. I like the monsters. They are very, very creepy.
Wait. Who? His name again?
Douglas McCone.
McCone. Deadly Spawn.
The Deadly Spawn.
That's not the movie with Bobby Brzee, is it?
No. The monsters have 1,000 teeth. They look very, very creepy, and he made his dream come true when he was a young guy and directed this movie. This was the only movie he directed, but it's very, very interesting. So if you like, can send you this interview too.
No. Oh, the interview I'd love to read. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch the movie. I don't want to spoil it. Right now, this very moment, it's perfect.
Okay, but
if I looked at it, it would be imperfect.
Okay.
So it's a brilliant movie. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Don't show it to me.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Where we don't know about it. Well, thank you so much. I hope I didn't bore you.
No, not at all. It was very, very interesting. It was fun, and I'm going back to you. We stay in contact, and I'm going to send you the interview, and I'm going to send you the link, and I'm going to send you the English interview from Mr. Douglas McCone as well. Okay?
That sounds wonderful. By the way, did you see the German DVD release of Flesh and Blood?
No, I didn't. I did not. No.
I did an introduction to that in German.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it, but I'd love to see what the reaction is.
Okay.
Because I studied it. I mean, I studied for it. I memorized everything and so on. And it would be interesting to actually get some feedback. I don't know if it's ever been released. That's a year ago or 2 years ago or something.
Yeah.
But I certainly strongly suggested to see somebody who, like Bela Lugosi on stage in the 1920s, was essentially playing a role without knowing what the hell he was talking about.
Yeah. I'm gonna see if I can get this DVD, and I'm gonna give a feedback to you. Promise.
Oh, wonderful!
Thanks for your time. Thanks for your time.
You got to take care of your daughter.
Thank you.
Go.
Bye, sir.
All right.
All the best for you. Bye.
So thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.